Welcome to Hindsight Tonight. I'm Damian Muziani, and here's your news. Leading off, as America continues to be polarized by two political parties that simply seem unable to coexist in peace, it's important to look to history for answers. In the 1600s, America was largely made up of English colonies, and right around that time, a new annual sporting event was invented across the pond in England. Shrovetide football has been played nearly every year since, and much like American politics, there are very few rules followed and not a lot of sense involved. People from opposing parts of town try to move a leather ball through 3 miles of fields, streets, and streams to a goal marker. No identifying jerseys or colors worn, so nobody knows whose side you're on. The result is up to 16 hours of what looks like some kind of reverse mitosis, as 1,000 people desperately try to occupy 1 square foot of space at the same time. Actually, elements of Shrovetide have carried over to America through the years. This is our annual Black Friday Shovetide event. This sport is called Swifttide, which happens whenever Taylor is in town. And hopefully this sport doesn't return. This was Red Tide outside the U.S. Capitol a few years ago, you remember. You can't see the soccer ball, but I'll bet there was one in there somewhere. Other balls that might have gone missing belong to those among Generation Z, according to a survey by employment website Indeed.com. Apparently, 93% of Gen Zers have admitted to blowing off a scheduled job interview, and 87% accepted jobs that they then never bothered to show up for. The reason? Because it makes them feel in charge of their career. What career is that? Silly us, we thought you had to actually do something to then call it a career. Makes us wonder just how that job interview would go if a Gen Zer actually showed up for it. Hello? You're glazing up this cringe job, but I didn't do all this looks maxing just to get beta side-eyed. I built my Sigma aura up brick by brick. I have amped Riz with hunter eyes. I'm mogging the masses, and you're just some Delulu skibbity Ohio chuggy. Just put the fries in the bag. You're hired. Seems like America's workforce is just going to the dogs. Or maybe they're just eating like one. The University of Cambridge says they have identified a mutual obesity gene found in both dogs and humans. Animals with the gene had about 8% more body fat than those without it. The good news is that this risk can be offset by owners who strictly manage their dog's diet and exercise. The bad news is that, according to Reuters, many of those owners are also not eating properly. And since willpower is not an inherent canine trait, it's not like Fido discovered the Pavlovian response on his own after all, it then falls on us to set the example. Cambridge scientists stated that overweight dogs are not ravenous, they instead expel the least amount of energy needed to seek out food to eat. Sounds like the same gene found in those Generation Z non-job hunters. And that's your news. Please give us a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next week with Fresh Hindsight.